life and a violent death. The harsh reality for all creatures who share the sea with the great white shark. California's Pacific coast, home to thousands of seals, is a favorite white shark hunting ground, where humans are attacked more often than anywhere else in the world. But is the white shark a purposeful man-eater, or are these attacks the result of mistaken identity? The region is known as the Red Triangle, a rugged 100-mile stretch of coast north and south of San Francisco, where over 80 attacks on humans have been documented. At the Farallon Islands, 30 miles west of San Francisco, white sharks gather to feed on the colonies of northern elephant seals and California sea lions. After observing hundreds of attacks from the island, scientists like Pete Klimley now have a clearer picture of where and when a great white will strike.
My name is Dr. Peter Klimley. I am an animal behaviorist, and I've been studying the behavior and ecology of white sharks for 12 years in Northern California. At the Farallon Islands, we see 80% of the attacks within 400 yards from shore. This high-risk zone is very important to the seals. Sea lions and seals may move widely in the ocean, but it's just at one time in life when they pass through this zone, they're in great jeopardy of being attacked by a shark. When a white shark attacks a seal, it seizes the seal and carries it underwater for quite a prolonged period of time. Then it releases the seal. It has taken a bite of the seal. Now, during this time, there's a huge amount of blood loss from the seal, and we believe this is how the sharks kill seals.
In this computer animation, Dr. Klimley's theory of attack is illustrated by a violent first strike. The victim is then carried down, its blood drained in the process. Often decapitated, the prey is then released, surfaces, and is consumed within minutes. Compared with seals and sea lions, divers and surfers are potentially easy prey. But humans who are bit are often quickly released by the great white, who, like a finicky cat, never returns to feed.
The research we've done at the Farallon Islands, I think, have yielded a real potentially important insight. That is that the white shark is not really a man-eater at all. This is its common name, man-eater. It may not be a man-eater. It may strike humans inadvertently and rather feed on seals and sea lions because of their high fat content.
In the cold waters off California, the white shark must consume the fat and calorie-rich seals and sea lions just to satisfy its incredibly fast metabolism. It will sample anything resembling its usual prey, including humans, who may only be spared because they have too little fat to make a decent meal. The Farallon's rugged landscape and remoteness forebode human visitors. The presence of the great white can be felt here, a gut reaction, accentuated by eerie fog and chilling winds. Yet for a brave few who come to harvest the rich crop of abalone, working in the realm of the great white shark is a way of life.
My name's Joel Roberts, and I'm a commercial abalone diver. And I've been working for about 9 years in that profession. I guess I've probably seen as many sharks as anybody. At the Farallon Islands, I've seen 9 white sharks now in the water, up close and personal.
The risks here are great, but the rewards are lucrative. In a single day, Joel can harvest his limit of 84 abalone, a catch worth thousands of dollars. But in return, he must spend up to 8 hours in bone-chilling water, often surrounded by great white sharks.
The first key to white shark safety is spotting him before he spots you or at the same time he spots you. The minute he loses the element of surprise, we feel like that's a big factor. And the key thing again is to stay on the bottom, stay low to the rocks, climb into a hole if there's one nearby, and don't go anywhere. The guy that swims to the surface is going to get bit for sure.
As an equalizer, Joel carries a handgun modified to work underwater and capable of killing a shark, provided it is less than 10 feet away.
We've considered the springtime to be the relatively safe time of year, and we've always been somewhat lax. And up till last month, I had never seen a shark at the Farallones in the springtime, not one. On this day, as I worked through a kind of a flat, wide open bottom and worked my way out into deeper water, like what would be 35 or 40 feet for us, I saw a flash. I said, that was a white shark. And I said, no, that wasn't a white shark. Whitey's not out here this time of year. And then I looked down, I picked an abalone, and I looked up, and he was coming straight at me. This thing was huge. It was like laying on the street and having a station wagon drive over you. Normally I would have been getting the gun out at that point and been ready to shoot if it got real close and real aggressive with me. But it didn't come back, and I waited for about 5 minutes. It didn't come back, and it didn't come back. I worked my way back to the boat, just hugging the bottom real close. Still didn't see it, until I got under the boat, and you couldn't see the boat, of course. In 50 feet of water, you couldn't see that far, but you could hear the compressor. You can hear the compressor real well. And when I got under the boat, I took my knee out from under the rock and did the fastest free ascent in the history of mankind. I happened to come up right at the ladder, and I pretty much walked on water the little distance I had to go and climbed up the ladder. And I remember taking the regulator out of my mouth when I hit the deck, and it was full of white foam, and I realized my mouth had gone completely dry, and I had just slobbering this white foam. I'm afraid of white sharks. I guess I'm not afraid enough to stop doing what I'm doing. I'm cautious, but I feel like we've achieved some kind of a working relationship. We've achieved some kind of a harmony where I can continue to work the areas that I'm working. The shark's looking for specific circumstances, and as long as I stay out of those situations, I'm going to be safe.
50 miles south of San Francisco, a rocky, windswept island named Año Nuevo is home to one of the largest elephant seal colonies on the West Coast. It is also a favorite hunting ground for the white shark, who arrives during the pupping season to greet young seals on their first trip to sea. In this national marine sanctuary, the seals are protected on land, but within yards of the beach, they are at great risk of attack. Driven by hunger, the seals must run a gauntlet of white sharks in the channel to reach open ocean and the rich feeding grounds over the continental shelf. The seals are attacked most often just after entering the water, and they have responded by swimming defensively near shore, a technique recently discovered by elephant seal expert Bernie LeBoeuf.
My name is Bernie LeBoeuf. I'm a professor of biology at the University of California at Santa Cruz, and I've been studying seals and sea lions for about 25 years. My early work on elephant seals focused on their activities on land, which is primarily reproduction. It wasn't until 1983 that we started to study diving behavior and the activities of the elephant seal at sea.
With the advent of satellite tracking receivers, the elephant seals are fixed with tiny transmitters that reveal for the first time what they do during the months they spend at sea, including where and when they are attacked by a shark.
We've been aided by technological advances which have really opened up this very dark world called the sea to us. I mean, 10 years ago we knew nothing about what these animals did in the water. Now with the aid of these devices we have more information on certain aspects of behavior than we have of what these animals are doing on land.
Using depth gauges, Dr. LeBoeuf discovered the elephant seal may be the most accomplished diver in the sea, reaching record depths far beyond the range of most marine mammals.
The depth of the dive averages about 500 meters, but the maximum dive depth can be 1.5 kilometers, that is to say 1,500 meters, which is almost a mile. Or to put this in perspective, it would be like about 4 Empire State Buildings, one stacked on top of the other, and doing that in about 25 to 35 minutes.
The elephant seal's diving pattern is a natural defense against the white sharks. In open ocean they dive day and night, spending very little time on the surface, where they are vulnerable to attack. The great white prefers hunting near the surface and will not pursue the seals in their deep dives. It is spring at the rookery, and the small strip of beach at Ano Nuevo is crowded with pups. Feeding on its mother's rich milk, the pup grows from a birth weight of 75 pounds to about 300 in its first month of life. The mother seal fasts the entire month her pup is feeding, then abruptly returns to the sea, leaving the pup weaned and alone on a beach crowded with aggressive bulls. Soon it will learn to swim and dive, unaware of hungry white sharks.
On the rookery, about 15 to 20% of the pups born die. Now this can get up to 70% in a real bad year, but on average it's 20%. Once they go to sea, then 50% or more of them that go to sea, that are weaned, do not return, which means that they are dead. So that's when the sword falls, really, is the first trip to sea. If you consider the fact that the pup going to sea for the first time is very naive. It's naive in many respects. It doesn't know what its predators are. Its predator is the white shark. The white shark likes fat animals. That's one of the reasons why it likes elephant seals. And what is a newly weaned elephant seal pup like? It's 48% fat. So this is like having a hot dog with the bread being blubber instead of bread. And so if the white shark wants a lot of fat in its meal, then the ideal diet would be to go for these animals going to sea for the first time that don't know what the predator's like.
Scarred survivors of white shark attack dot the beach at Ano Nuevo. The massive 2-ton bulls are equipped with large canine teeth and are a formidable prey, but like the pups, they are an easy target.
I think males too are especially vulnerable because, like males of many species during the breeding season, males will do stupid things in their attempt to do as much mating as possible. They will wait in the water for females that are leaving the island. They will actually doze off in the water at the surface while they're doing that. They will go from one island to the next in the danger zone looking for females. And as a result, it's not surprising that they are hit much more frequently by sharks than are females.
Full from their bounty, the sharks vanish from Ano each year, migrating south into a collision course with man. Of all the world's great predators, only the white shark has remained untamed by man. For years, the best equipped aquariums have tried and failed to keep the white shark alive in captivity. SeaWorld in San Diego, California, displays several docile shark species that readily adapt to zoo life, but no great white has survived here longer than a few days. This has frustrated SeaWorld officials, who recently captured an 8-foot juvenile white shark off San Diego.
We brought the animal into our shark encounter. We gave it the best possible veterinary care. We took blood samples so that we could see what was going on with this animal. We gave it vitamins and supportive injections during the time that it was here. But after about a week and a half, it became apparent to us that the animal was not doing well.
Mysteriously, great whites reject food while captive and quickly deteriorate.
We tried just about every kind of food that anybody could imagine. We tried squid, we tried many different species of fishes that we know that white sharks eat, juvenile white sharks, but the animal simply never ate. At that point, we decided that probably the best thing that could be done would be to release it.
Just 11 days after it was caught, the fragile white shark would be returned to the ocean. Its chances for survival depend solely on the team's ability to keep from stressing the animal. To keep it alive, the shark's gills are pumped with oxygen-rich seawater while the team heads to the release point, just a few miles north of San Diego. Weak from its short stay in captivity, the shark makes the journey while tenuously clinging to life.
No aquariums have been successful to this point in keeping white sharks in captivity. We don't know why we're not successful, but I believe that eventually we will find out what the secret of meeting their needs is, and we'll be able to display them just as we're able to display other shark species.
Dr. Peter Klimley is called in to oversee the operation. He plans to tag and track the shark's movements after release.
And you're going to have to be aware that she might swing that tail. She's got quite a peduncle right there.
And when she swings her tail, Tom?
Tag and release studies are one of several methods scientists use to map white shark movements up and down the California coast. In the spring, adult female white sharks are believed to move south to give birth in the warm waters of Southern California. Near the Channel Islands off Los Angeles and San Diego, she produces a litter of between 1 and 10 pups. Free from the duties of motherhood, she then works her way north, hungry and ready to resume the hunt for seals and sea lions. The pups remain in the south.
The size of the young at birth is 5 to 6 feet. As they grow larger, they move northward. When they're young, they feed on fish. Then when they reach a size of 10 to 12 feet, they start feeding on seals and sea lions. And we think that may drive their movement northward.
Which way are you guys going? 1, 2, 3, up. Over. Okay, you ready, Brian? Okay. Hey, go. Yeah. Going.
Should it avoid fishermen's nets, the young shark has an excellent chance of reaching adulthood and northern California waters. But as it matures off Southern California, where it goes and what it does is a mystery to science.
Yeah, I've lost him. I'm not getting a signal.
Much of what is known about the great white has come from dissecting dead sharks. This 2-ton, 18-foot white had just given birth and was migrating northward when she became tangled and died in a fisherman's net. But the shark's accidental death will be a gain for science. Its massive liver, perhaps a third of her total body weight, is thought to contain oils that are helpful in the fight against human disease. The stomach contents tell researchers a great deal about the shark's dietary preferences and movement patterns.
Sea lion. Sea lion, yeah.
Not surprisingly, this great white shark had just fed on her favorite food.
Or an elephant seal.
As it migrates up the California coast, the white shark is on constant lookout for prey. It is ravenously hungry from giving birth, and at this time perhaps most dangerous to humans. Since 1989, 3 people have been killed by white sharks off Southern California. The latest victim, a commercial sea urchin diver named Jimmy Robinson. Jimmy was diving alone at an island off Santa Barbara in December of 1994 when he was suddenly struck by a monstrous great white. His dive partners on the boat did not see the shark, but will never forget its impact as they spent the next 10 minutes in a desperate struggle to keep Jimmy alive.
He came up and we ran to the back of the boat, and first thing we saw was like a shroud of crimson water 15 feet from the back of the boat, and it didn't register to me. And Jimmy came up and he said, "I just got hit by a white." And then it was like, oh my God, that's blood in the water. Our first instinct was to yank him out of the water, and he didn't want to come out of the water. He said, "No, don't pull me out." And I have no idea what his motivation was there, but I knew that he was scared, and when we pulled him up on deck, he was really bad. He had completely severed his right leg.
I had Steve call the Coast Guard right away. I started taking off his gear, try to get him comfortable, and he was not saying much. He was still conscious and very alert, but you know, he was just bleeding profusely out of his leg. It was just too weird, you know, couldn't believe what was happening here. But we never gave up hope that he was, you know, not going to make it.
It was really eerie, but after about 10, 12 minutes, he just got this real peaceful look on his face, and he reached one arm out to me, and I just gave him a big hug, and I told him we all loved him and that, you know, we were going to do everything we could for him, and he just drifted away right then. That was it. He had realized where he was and where he was going, and he had peace with that.
Jimmy was transported to a Santa Barbara area hospital where emergency room doctors worked in vain to revive him. Jimmy Robinson was dead at age 42. The autopsy and examination of the wetsuit revealed to experts that the attacking shark was a giant, perhaps the largest on record.
The bite mark was measured both on the wetsuit and on the victim's body. The bite mark on the right lower extremity measured 18 inches in its width. I did consult an expert on shark attacks, and we examined the wetsuit, the photographs that we had taken documenting the injuries. The expert indicated that the shark was probably in excess of 25 feet and approximately 3,000, 4,000 pounds, a very large animal.
At his funeral, a standing room only crowd paid tribute to the popular local diver.
Everyone knew him, everybody loved him, everybody wanted to be around him, and it was almost a group of people feeding off his aura because he was so happy and so energetic.
Jimmy died doing what he loved to do. He got a lot of enjoyment out of it.
They're monsters of the sea. They're predators. It took a white shark to take my friend off this earth, and I think that's the only way he could have gone.
Jimmy, our sweet Jimmy, didn't know your fate that day. That great white shark at Castle Rock would steal your life away.
For the people of Santa Barbara, the white shark is not hated, but respected for what it is, the ultimate predator.
You know, the power of the great white shark and what it had done to Jimmy on that day is something that you will never see, no one will ever see the same way that we saw it that day. It was just a force of nature that is so strong and so beyond our comprehension of what really goes on underneath that surface of the water.
The white shark has the physical tools to kill and devour almost any creature in the sea. But for many years, scientists have debated whether the perfect killing machine was also intelligent.
If you're big and you've got lots of teeth, you don't need a lot of brains.
This is the conclusion of Dr. Glenn Northcote of Scripps Oceanographic Institute, who first discovered the white shark's lack of intellect when examining its tiny brain.
These are the primary visual areas. When we opened the first skull, we were totally amazed because essentially they have very, very simple brains.
A side-by-side comparison of a white shark's brain with the larger brain of a manta ray reveals startling differences. While the gentle manta rays have the comparative intelligence of a house cat, the white shark is lacking even in comparison with other sharks.
One of the surprises is they have one of the largest brain areas devoted to smell of any of the sharks that have been looked at. But when we look at the related areas in the very front of the brain, they're very poorly developed, which suggests that these animals probably are very good at detecting motion, probably very good at detecting size, but I suspect that visually they couldn't tell a sea lion from a surfboard if their lives depended upon it.
Very good, okay. Nice work, Beef.
Beaver, a California sea lion raised in captivity at the Long Marine Lab in Santa Cruz, is known to be a little nosy.
Oh, hello. I'm right here. Sorry about that smudge.
Safe from the threat of white sharks in the nearby waters of Monterey Bay, Beaver has become the pet project of biologist Jennifer Hurley.
Come on, bud. I want to see your teeth.
We have to form a close bond with them and be very careful in order to take care of them as best as possible. In fact, these animals are able to live longer in captivity as a result of our careful medical examinations and attention to every detail of their lives.
A little itchy there, Beef? Yeah, okay. We insist on keeping the animals mentally and physically stimulated as part of their overall experience with us, so they can stay happy, and the happiness promotes longer life, just like with people. Neck, left,
Jennifer
right,
and her
very
training program were fictionalized in Jaws author Peter Benchley's new best-selling novel, White Shark. In the book, Jennifer's character has trained highly intelligent sea lions to carry video cameras on their backs, enabling them to videotape the villainous robotic white shark, as described in the novel. In reality, Jennifer is training Beaver to film whales and dolphins underwater.
I'm looking towards several different avenues of taking our trained sea lions out into the open ocean, using them to help us study aspects of the wild environment out there. So we're going to have them diving, simulating wild California sea lion dives, so we can continue the research we've done here in the tanks. And also we're going to be using them to help us study whales and cetaceans out in the bay by placing video cameras on their backs and asking them to help us take some film footage of the whales by swimming around the whales and next to the whales, so we can get some idea of a very elusive and difficult to study animal.
In the novel White Shark, several of the sea lion cameramen were eaten by the monster great white while filming, a possibility Jennifer will be guarding against when Beaver enters open waters to begin his filming task.
Fortunately, we haven't encountered any sharks out in the wild with our animals when we've taken them out into the bay, but we're very alert and watching for that kind of thing.
Filmmakers and photographers seeking an encounter with the great white normally must travel great distances to isolated islands and dangerous reefs. In these desolate regions, the whites are plentiful but still elusive without the lure of bait. A proven attractant has been the use of chum, a potent-smelling cocktail of fish entrails and blood. As it is ladled overboard, the chum forms a slick that spreads out and attracts sharks from miles away. In these remote, unpopulated areas, chumming has no effect on humans. But what if chumming for white sharks occurred off California, within range of crowded beaches? Would it increase the risk of white shark attack? Santa Cruz, California, a place where surfing among sharks is a way of life. In the heart of the Red Triangle, Santa Cruz surf spots are among the world's most shark-infested. Perhaps resembling sea lions in their dark wetsuits, surfers have been hit by white sharks in this area at the rate of nearly 1 per year. And now the surfers claim they are in even more danger thanks to a man who has brought chumming for the white sharks to the already dangerous waters of the Red Triangle.
There's only a few places in the world where you can see white sharks. South Africa, Australia, but in particularly in the U.S., the northern and central coasts, what we call the Red Triangle.
It is the latest trend in ecotourism, photographing and viewing the white shark in its natural habitat, a lucrative business for shark guide John Capella. Only a mile or two off the California coast, Capella's popular charters bring intrepid divers face to face with great whites. The sharks do not always show up, but Capella has an insurance policy: chum.
I started putting chumming material into the waters here back in 1985, and I was using a very crude method of basically just breaking up fish and tossing them at sharks that appear on the surface. And basically what I do now is I use a component of ground up fish placed in the water in various ways to attract sharks. I also use silhouette cutouts of pinnipeds to attract to the shark. We use this in conjunction with chumming material. This is the attractant to bring the shark, the white shark, in close up to the cages.
Why I'm taking this all the time? Shark! Shark! Woohoo! He's a biggie! 5 o'clock to get. Look at him come! Look at him come! Come on, who's ready? Who's ready? How does he like?
Capella's shark tours have angered surfers who feel the use of chum trains sharks to associate blood with people. Compounding the danger, say surfers, is Capella's chumming inside the boundaries of the Año Nuevo National Marine Sanctuary, a popular recreation area.
I'm not a very popular guy. My cause is not a very popular cause, but I believe it's a very valid activity to be conducting out here. I'm trying to elevate the white shark to a different level without all the hype, without all the commercialism. I want to bring people into their environment to see them as they are, and I would like to be left alone.
Tim Loomis is a local surfer who has led the fight to outlaw chumming at Año Nuevo. Currently, there are no laws to restrict chumming here, but Loomis and a coalition of surfers, environmentalists and abalone divers contend that chum and people don't mix, especially in a marine reserve used by over 2 million visitors a year.
We felt that chumming for great whites in itself is not all that bad of an idea. It's just we take a fence to the location where the chumming is occurring. He is doing it near a nationally known surf break, windsurf beach, abalone dive area. It's too many humans have been recreating there for years, and then to come in and stir up the hornet's nest. We all know that the great whites are there. We have coexisted there with the great whites for a long time without incident, and we feel that John or anybody coming in and chumming for the great whites is going to increase the chances of accidents happening.
To the public upon request. I would like to submit a copy of the RAP report for the record.
With public opposition to chumming on the rise, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which governs the waters off Año Nuevo, heard both sides of a highly charged issue.
Don't feed the animals. How many times have you been to the zoo and seen that sign, don't feed the animals?
And the fact is, every time a photograph or video is taken of a great white shark, more people have an opportunity to see, admire, and not kill these magnificent creatures.
And I, as a commercial diver, would like to make an open invitation to any scientist or concerned Californian that would like to view white sharks. Would be glad to take you out and throw you in the water with great white sharks.
The whole idea is enticing the animals with food and bait, teasing them with food even to get dramatic photographs and things like that.
Sean Van Sumrin has been a voice for the preservation and protection of sharks for much of his adult life. As operations director for the Pelagic Shark Research Foundation in Santa Cruz, Sean believes chumming is dangerous for both people and sharks.
Every cowboy with a boat and some butcher shop runoff is going to be up there teasing the sharks with food. He's not the only one that does this, and we've been busy in the last few years heading off interests involved with this kind of thing. Not only with just trying to take pictures and tease the sharks with food, but actually trying to catch and kill them. The going rate for a white shark cadaver right now is $10,000.
Sean has waged a one-man war to protect all species of shark in the Santa Cruz area, including the harmless basking shark.
There we go. There it is. Okay, let's just get a nice shot of him feeding.
Once nearly extinct in this region, these huge 20 to 30 foot plankton eaters are making a comeback, thanks in part to Sean's efforts to tag the animals whilst protecting them from harassment.
Basking sharks are often harassed. A lot of the animals bear prop marks and evidence of collisions with boats and sport fisherman harassment. In 91 and 92, we cleared literally miles of monofilament off of some of the larger groups where bored sport fishermen would cast their lures across the backs and intentionally snag them so that they'd be towed around, behind the animal. And it's, while it's quite thrilling, it really, bears no purpose.
Outspoken in his efforts to stop the chumming, Sean has called attention to the issue by inviting media from around the world to view the chumming in progress. In a press conference overlooking Año Nuevo Island, Sean and members of the Surfers Environmental Alliance announced plans for a lawsuit restricting chumming. Meanwhile, in full view of the press, John Capella was chumming the waters just offshore. Descended upon in droves by the media, Capella kept interviewers at bay by flying a diver's warning flag, forcing the cameras to retreat while the chumming continued.
There's a lot of misperceived ideas about my chumming methods and techniques, certainly around the Año Nuevo area. This area in particular is an area which is known for white sharks. It always has been known for white sharks. It is not a very safe place to recreate. Also, I am far enough offshore so that when I put my chumming material in the water, it does not reach the shore. It disperses into the open ocean. But unfortunately, because a lot of the misconceptions and people's attitudes, they have reduced my activities to the lowest common denominator. They have me sort of pigeonholed as a guy throwing blood on the beaches while children are playing.
Waddell Creek, a beautiful and very popular windsurf and wave sail beach, located just a mile south of Año Nuevo. The white sharks are here cruising unnoticed as they hunt nearby elephant seals. But when chum is added to this already volatile mix, will the result mean attack? A frightening question for the local windsurfers.
I just feel it's unnatural, and it just betters my chances of being struck by a shark because they do it so close to where we sail and surf.
My main concern about the shark chumming is that if one man profits through endangering other people's lives, it just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Chum slicks have been shown to draw white sharks from several miles away, a factor that many feel can make Año Nuevo a more dangerous place, not only for humans, but for elephant seals. With the white sharks just offshore, the weaned elephant seal pups will soon go to sea for the first time. In their quest to reach the rich feeding grounds of the open ocean, they will forge a dangerous near-shore zone with the white shark as a constant threat, and many will never return to Año Nuevo. Just how many seals are eaten by white sharks is difficult to measure, but researchers at the University of California, Santa Cruz are studying this predator-prey relationship. Though they look timid, the pups can move quickly and deliver a painful bite, making them difficult to handle without tranquilizers.
Now, normally you can just go up and stick the needle in and just inject it like you would in a human, but because he's awake right now, it makes it a little harder to actually, stick him. So we're going to put an extension tube, which goes between the needle itself and the syringe. So you can just poke the needle in and then you inject it. As you step back, you can inject the substance.
As the sedatives take effect, the pup will be measured, weighed, and tagged. The results added to a larger study conducted by Dr. Bernie Leboeuf that shows how elephant seals avoid becoming prey.
We have studied the records, and what we find in a nutshell is that it's very predictable, is that the animals will swim faster when they're diving in shallow water over the continental shelf than they will once they reach deep water. They will swim at the bottom on their way out, which affords them a much better perspective on where the potential predator might be. And they will also have shorter surface intervals during the course of crossing the continental shelf. Well, all of this tells us that they're using more oxygen. There's a greater effort to get out of that high-risk zone of attack very rapidly.
Still groggy from the sedative, it will take several minutes for the young seal to regain his coordination. Meanwhile, his weight and tag ID number are recorded so he can be found later if he returns.
He doesn't like that. Nope. Doesn't like. Whoops. Here we go. I'm going to mark him so that I can find him easily again. This is Lady Clairol hair dye. And his name we said was tab 12.
Next spring, the researchers will return to Año to find tab 12 and record his growth. Elephant seals, like migrating salmon, always return to their place of birth to mate. If he cannot be found, the researchers will know he did not survive. To reach adulthood, tab 12 must enter the treacherous red triangle. Like the surfers and divers who dare to venture into these foreboding waters, he is now in the domain of the great white shark.